2019 high school football on SHN Sports is proudly presented by Georgetown Jewelry. Georgetown Jewelry is your trusted local jewelry store, family owned and operated since 2013. Whether you desire a one-of-a-kind custom piece or want to enjoy browsing our inventory of both unique and traditional jewelry and watches, stop by and see us at Georgetown Jewelry. We also specialize in jewelry repair and appraisals. For more information, please visit Georgetown Jewelry, located in the Williamsburg Village Shopping Center in Georgetown, or online at georgetownjewelry.com. Central Texas High School football on SHN Sports is made possible by Georgetown and Austin Shirt Company. 3 words describe Georgetown and Austin Shirt Company: simple, reliable, and awesome. We support our community. From screen printing and embroidery to promotional products, Georgetown and Austin Shirt Company helps put your brand on your business. Get started on your project today by getting a quick and easy quote online at georgetownshirtcompany.com. Jimmy Jacobs' reputation for building beautiful custom homes in Central Texas speaks for itself. For over 30 years, he has been behind some of the most successful and sought-after new home developments in Georgetown. Grand Endeavor Homes represents a new era of elegant custom home building. Now joined by his son, Justin Jacobs, Jimmy has launched Grand Endeavor Homes to continue his legacy and reputation for custom homes in Georgetown and the surrounding areas. Visit GrandEndeavorHomes.com for details and directions to the model home.
Well, a pleasant good afternoon, friends, and welcome to another edition of SHN Gridiron. I'm Rob Hipp alongside my good friend Michael Francis. Michael, it's good to be back in the studio. You know, we had a few things going on the past couple of weeks. We didn't bring Gridiron to the folks out there, and so we wanted to make sure that we were back on today. And just talking high school football, week 5 for a lot of teams now, their 5th game, of course. It is unbelievable to think that we are approaching the halfway mark in Central Texas high school football. Where does that time go, man?
It just breezes by that quickly. You get teams that are coming in undefeated and they're at 5-0. You got Cedar Park, who's 5-1 right now, so they're actually beyond halfway point in their regular season schedule. So it just goes by that quick.
Yeah, it's just going way too fast. And for me, I've been in down at Huntsville quite a bit, broadcasting for Sam Houston State University. And the biggest thing for me is I've only been able to call one high school football game for Georgetown this year. And the way it's going, I may only get to do one more, so which I'm happy. I'm not complaining about that.
Right.
I'm just torn because I rep the Georgetown G pretty hardcore. I mean, you see it here on a studio desk. I've got it on the shirt. That's something that we rep pretty big here.
It is, and you've brought a lot to the table for Georgetown and EFND Nation, not just football, but you've also worked with girls basketball and also the baseball program. So last year, an outstanding run by the Eagle baseball team, going all the way to state, and unfortunately losing a heartbreaking loss to Colleyville Heritage in the championship game.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's just crazy, how fast time goes, and you sit down and you look back and you say, "Oh my goodness, what has happened? Where has time went?" And that's just what happens, And so we're thankful, though. We've been able to bring so many broadcasts. And one thing, before we really start digging into what's going on in the high school football world, one thing that I've been very excited about and very thankful for, the subscriber base on YouTube continues to grow. We're getting close to around 1,700 subscribers or so now, which if we go back and look, just a few months ago, we were still trying to get to 1,000. And so we hit that mark. And again, I say these numbers not to just go out there and say, hey, look at what's happening on SHN, but it happens for a reason. And I'm going to get to that in a second. But now approaching almost 1 million total minutes of view time within the last 90 days.
And that is incredible.
And for us, it's phenomenal. We're thankful for that, not because we can say, hey, we've got 1 million total minutes of view time or listen time. It's because there's kids out there that are getting coverage, that their content, their names, what they're doing is getting heard. That's what we're about at SHN, and that's what's starting to happen now. And so the more that our subscriber base grows, and if you're watching this tonight on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and you will stay up to date with the latest of what's going on here on SHN. But that's why I say that. It's so important because now these kids are starting to get a lot more exposure. You know, schools like Gerald, who we started out with 5 years ago, and then hopefully we're going to get Granger on. They're having a good run. Travis Sessoms calls in every week to SHN Football Friday, and they're having a good run, and we expect them to be in the playoffs, and hopefully, you know, we can broadcast those playoff games again this year. There's organizations out there that are doing a great job covering folks. FanStan is number one in our books. We have a great relationship with FanStan. All the Casey Johns, Snoop John, Casey Johns, and Snoop Daniel. I'm a little bit out of it, Michael. Those two guys, though, they do incredible work, and we're thankful for them. And so, you know, you talk about organizations like FanStan that they follow the same philosophy that we do of putting kids first and really promoting those high school athletes. They do it through their iReporters. They do it through so many wonderful avenues. And there's a lot of coverage going on throughout Central Texas. You know, one for us, and we've never wanted to go out and say, hey, we're going to try to broadcast for everybody and be the biggest and say that we're broadcasting for 40% of all area high schools. That's not what we're about. What we're about is promoting the best way that we can per school, because we know that every school is a unique opportunity, and it's an opportunity to get that kid that much more exposure, Michael.
Absolutely. Well, SHN brings a unique paradigm, not only like some other networks that bring audio only. SHN brings audio and video, and so these kids can go back and rewatch the games over again, not just in the film rooms on Saturday mornings after the football game or Sunday afternoons whenever they come in, or Monday. They get the opportunity to pull it up and say, you know what, yeah, I did make a mistake right there, and kind of go back to help improve their game. So and we hear feedback all the time. I know Travis and I do from young people that they're thankful that is there. And the other thing is they're thankful for the honesty that that our broadcasters bring to the broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's important. And you and Travis do such a wonderful job. Hey, I wanted to say hello to all of our Facebook Live friends out there tonight, too. I started a little live stream just to have a little bit of fun here from the studio. So those of you that are on Facebook, go to shnsports.com, roll down on the podcast and shows link, and you can actually see this on YouTube, because you're getting a kind of behind-the-scenes look here with Michael Francis and I. See, it's not all pretty back there. It's really just a green screen. So we kind of trick you guys out there. But, again, you know, welcoming in those friends. We'll sign off on the Facebook stream, so you guys have a good night. But, you know, it's important, man, and I don't want to beat around the bush on that, but it's so important to bring these kids exposure, and that's what we're working on, what we're doing. And next year we've got a lot of great ideas in the works. I'm going to be a lot more involved down in the East Texas region here before too long. Really looking forward to that, and we may have an opportunity down there for SHN to expand around the Huntsville, Conroe area, and so I'm really looking forward to that. There's a lot of communities in those areas that are getting good coverage, and we want to help bring some more coverage to those areas. But, again, Michael, 5 weeks we are. Your thoughts so far on this season? It's been a little bit of a crazy one.
It has been. Some teams that have really stepped up and have done a lot better than they were projected to. Preseason-wise, it is phenomenal. Vista Ridge has really excelled and overachieved what the original projections were on that. Stony Point, another one of them that is just really outperforming what their original projections were. Coach Rodney Vincent over at Vista Ridge is doing a great job with that school and that football team, and some great things are happening for them in District 13 6A. They got to be considered one of the top 4 teams toward the playoff run.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the great thing about football, is that each year brings something new. Not only are you graduating students away, you got incoming freshmen, and you get sophomores and juniors that are stepping up, and they grow and they better themselves throughout the spring, throughout the summer, and come into the new football season, and they get their opportunities to come in and excel, and they get that and turn that to their advantage and do an outstanding job, and you get unexpected results when you get kids who really just apply themselves and do a phenomenal job.
Yeah, we've seen that this season. As we quickly tonight, just to kind of break it down so you'll know what's happening here. We're no guests tonight, so we're just going to kind of take our look at several of these matchups. We'll go over some scores. We'll preview what's happening and coming ahead this week. But we'll look over Georgetown. We'll talk about that, of course, a team here on SHN Sports. We'll talk about Eastview. We'll talk about Hutto. Hutto has just been, unbelievable this year. Number 6. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. The Battle of the Lakes, the big one coming up, the sold-out game here in the Central Texas area. Always a big one, Westlake versus Lake Travis. We'll glance at Stony Point and Vista Ridge. We'll also look at some of those district standings. Michael, I'll start with Georgetown. This year, haven't been able to personally only broadcast one game for the Eagles. That was the Waco University game. Georgetown started out the season. They looked really sharp. And, I love the kids. They've got a lot of great potential this season. But on a 2-game skid right now, they play a very good Stephenville team just a couple of weeks ago, a 4A team that has always been good. I mean, you go back to, a coach back then that a lot of people don't like to say his name, but Coach Briles. He took that team to so many state championships, and it's just amazing to think what Stephenville has been able to do over the years as a 4A school. And they are, last year beat Georgetown. They beat them again this year. And then you fast forward another week, Georgetown, the district opener, 11-5 AD1. They play Hutto at Hutto. Hutto has been on a rampage this year. Now, they saw a little bit of a break versus, I believe it was Pflugerville-Connolly. Mm-hmm. Connolly had a lead in that game at one point.
And
really
yes.
that second half, Connolly really found their struggles, and Hutto started finding a way on the defensive side to stop that. But Hutto has been on a tear. Besides that game, they have really been rolling here in 11-5 AD1. Next year, and this is unofficially official, next year Hutto will be a 6A team. Talking to Coach Griffin tonight at the Georgetown Eagle Nation Coaches Show, and he said they've got the numbers. They're definitely going to be a 6A next year. And
right,
so that rivalry.
Hutto is, as a town, is growing, growing.
So that rivalry would be lost. But last week, Georgetown dropped their Hutto 38-14, I believe it was.
Right.
And I don't want to miscue numbers here.
Well, here you got
but you've got it right in front. Yeah,
34-18.
34-18 was the final in that. And it was a tough loss for Georgetown because they were really trying to find a way to get back on track, especially in the district opener. You go up against a team with a lot of D1 commits. They got a young man that's committed to LSU, and we're talking about Hutto. Also a team that is ranked in the Dave Campbell Texas football rankings, and this is the entire state in 5A D1, number 6 now.
Right, yeah. They're just a phenomenal team over there, and Coach LaPlante has really got them rolling right now. Their biggest challenge in this district is obviously going to be Cedar Park. Cedar Park, which Georgetown plays this Friday night. That's got to be a tough one coming off of Hutto, and I think some of Georgetown's struggles is finding that consistent quarterback. Coming off of last year, you had Jackson Seosin, who was an outstanding quarterback, and they was the one quarterback for Georgetown, and right now you're kind of going back and forth between two guys, really trying to find the guy who's going to step up and be that full-time quarterback for Georgetown.
You've seen that. Georgetown, of course, battling some injuries as well, as we saw last week versus Hutto. A young man, Ryan Eady, the junior, who we interviewed tonight in the Eagle Nation Coaches Show, gets 100 yards on the ground. That was a great night for him as a junior. Moreno, I believe, has been out with a couple of injuries, and so you got to get him. He's been out a couple of games with an injury, so you've got to get RJ back. Hopefully he'll be back versus Cedar Park. And so that's kind of the way that things have been shaping up. So Georgetown, I don't want to say it's a must-win situation for them versus Cedar Park, but I think just kind of in a way looking at it, just projecting it mentally, this is a Cedar Park team that Georgetown hasn't beat them in the last 6 contests. That dates all the way back, I believe, to 2008. And it is a very tough Cedar Park team that, you talk about a team that's been under head coach Carl Absek, who's done a phenomenal job, and Ryder Hernandez, he has been there. What is he, a three-year varsity player now,
right.
A quarterback. you have guys and kids in there with that kind of tenure, of course they're going to be a good team. So I think with Cedar Park, it's going to be a tough battle versus Georgetown. We'll see how they respond. I don't like to pick teams, and so I won't. But
Right.
I will just say that Georgetown has really got to remain focused. They've got to limit the turnovers, and really in that ball game, they've got to find a way to stop Ryder Hernandez, who's simply been on fire. Of course, Cedar Park dropped their first game to open the season. That was a non-district game. They're on a 5-game winning streak, and they're currently second in the district.
But that one loss was to a state-ranked 13-6A team in the Vandergrift Vipers.
Yeah, and so you're allowed to lose to that team. You don't want to, but you're allowed to.
Right, yeah, you're allowed to. But it was a shutout. They did get shut out in that game.
So we'll see, with how things are going. Manor has kind of been a surprise team this season. I believe they're currently in that third spot in the district rankings. Georgetown not even in there at the current moment. And so Manor has got they've got a little bit of momentum behind them. And then looking down through the rest of the district, they're just going to have to continue to find their rhythm and see what they can do. So Georgetown, we'll see what happens. It's a 7 p.m. kickoff at Birkelbach. It is blackout for Georgetown against the Black Rain defense. So they're going to try to black out the Black Rain defense. We'll see what happens.
I mean, that's a tough district right there, Rob. And I think, 1 and 2 is either going to be Hutto or Cedar Park. And then the next 3 that you really got to look at that are going to battle for that 3rd and 4th spot, that's going to be Georgetown, Manor, and Pflugerville. And that's going to be a tough gamut right there. So if Georgetown can take care of their business against Pflugerville and Manor, they should be able to pick up easy wins versus Rouse and Connolly.
Yeah, Georgetown 0-1 in the district. Of course, they had the early bye week right before the Stephenville game. Pflugerville, Connolly at 0-2 and Rouse at 0-2. That's kind of been surprising because Rouse has typically been a pretty powerful team, and over the past couple of years, they've just lost a little bit of their footing. That community.
Right, yeah. It's really dejecting for Coach Mann and his staff over there being winless in the season so far. It hasn't even been close, Rob. They haven't been competitive in any one game. They've been outscored by their opponents by a huge margin. Rouse has only scored 38 points so far on the season, but I think they've been outscored like 280 points.
Well, let's switch gears now. A team that you know very well, a team that we broadcast here on the SHN Network as well, the Eastview Patriots out of 13-5A in Division II. This is a tough Eastview team this year. They have been a little bit of a surprise. They get their first loss, though, just this past week. You and Travis Banks on that call, and it was a close game there at some points. Talk about that one.
Yeah, what a game. Eastview comes out. They have a 14-0 lead over Brenham, and Jackson Colson drops back for a pass that gets tipped and intercepted for a pick six, and that gets Brenham back in the game, and then they get a fumble recovery, and 2 plays later they get it in the end zone on a long 50-yard run and tie the ball game up. And the momentum shift just really kind of gut punched Eastview, and they kind of staggered back a little bit. They came back in the second half and climbed back into it, and they had their opportunities, but it was a winnable game for Eastview. Take away the turnovers, and they definitely would have controlled that game. Disappointing loss, but I believe they're going to bounce back, and they're going to respond this week when they step up and they take on Bastrop down in Bastrop. That's going to be a good game right there, and I think that Coach Feakoch and what's so exciting is to see these kids in Patriot Nation. They're starting to really come together, and you feel that sense of community in the Eastview student base.
Yeah, and I think it's I don't want to misspeak and definitely not talking down, but I don't think it's anything that Eastview's had in a long time, and nothing on the fans there and anything, but you get new coaching staff in, you kind of get a new anytime there's anything new, and it's nothing on any previous coaches, of course, but anytime you get anything new, it's just think of it like this, Michael. You rearrange your living room. It's just refreshing.
Right, you're absolutely
and that's what happens.
Right.
It's kind of refreshing.
And I think that Eastview has probably had some kind of or some sort of a complex and not necessarily inferiority, but Georgetown is the big brother. And so they've always kind of had this impression that Georgetown kind of gets the best of everything, and they're kind of the stepchildren off to the side. But, Coach Fecaci, he's not letting that kind of mindset really pervade that school anymore. It's time for them to step up and become their own entity. That they're Georgetown also. They may not be the Eagles, but they're a Georgetown school.
Absolutely. And Coach Fecaci has done a great job. We've had 2 Eastview players now as the SHN Sports Player of the Week, presented by Georgetown Jewelry. The award last week we didn't get to hand out. It is coming this week or next week, so we haven't forgot about the young man. We're not going to say it yet. We don't want to give an award too late in the season, but he did win that award, and we'll talk about that. But Weiss currently in the lead in the district. No team in that district overall is undefeated anymore.
Right. Well, Weiss, that's another one of the big surprises of the season. Last year they were winless in the whole season. They were 0-10.
And they have a turnaround and now leading the district.
They have a turnaround, and they are dominating teams. I mean, you look at their game last week versus Glenn. Glenn, one of the 3 teams that tied for the district championship last year, got handily defeated 42-0. They were shut out by Weiss. Weiss has had some good wins versus some 6A programs. They defeated Leander. They also defeated Rouse. And they just keep coming in and week out. They're really doing a great job in that program over there.
Well, in the district, they've only allowed 7 points through their first 2 games in district play. That is amazing. They've taken care of business. You go down the list, Brenham, who has had somewhat of a turnaround season as well, followed by Cedar Creek, and then Eastview holding on to that final spot right now at 1-1, if I'm not mistaken. It's still early. Week 5, got a lot of district games. We go 10 full games. And so, the ones that matter are your district games, of course.
Right.
And we'll see what happens with Eastview, though. But they're trying to take care of business. Cedar Creek, another SHN team in there. So 2 of your top 4 are SHN teams. And Cedar Creek has been there. Scotty Martin calling their games. They've had some streaks this year, taking care of business last week to get back on the winning column. But Weiss on that 3-game streak of going back to the final non-district game and then the 2 district games. That is just a team that's, I really think that they've got a great opportunity. But so does Eastview, so does Cedar Creek. And we're still early in district play now. And besides what we're seeing over in 11-5A, I think your 13-5A D2, it's still kind of up in the air at the moment. But Weiss, one of the favorites. But Eastview may make a case as well. So who knows? Who knows, Michael?
Right. Well, I believe Brenham was the projected district champion by Dave Campbell, Texas Football, if I remember correctly. So they're where we're projected to right now. So you got a surprise team in Eastview who was actually the outside looking in. But at this point, if they take care of their business, they're going to have one loss to a very good Brenham team. And so now you got to really keep your eyes open for Weiss. They're still on the schedule, and that's going to be in Pflugerville. That's going to be at their house for Eastview.
Well, we talked about Hutto earlier. They're ranked number 6 in the Dave Campbell Texas Football Poll. We're not going to go over them again. We talked about that a little bit earlier. We move ahead. We look to the Battle of the Lakes. Coming up, it's number 6 Westlake at Lake Travis, number 15. And, the Lake Travis stat may be a little bit skewed there because this is both 2 powerful teams going up against each other, ranked in the top 25 in Dave Campbell Texas Football in 6A. They're coming out of a 9-team district. And very powerful, these teams, both of them. That game is sold out. It's a rivalry that's went on for a while. It's a lot of fun to watch. Our good friend Dave Cody is the PA announcer, and he's been doing that for a while for Lake. And so, in this game, it's going to be fun. I know he's going to have a lot of fun.
Oh, he is. And, that's going to be played over at Lake Travis University. And
yeah, pretty much.
Funny. If you've ever been to Lake Travis, that's a huge campus over there. And the football stadium just right there on campus.
Get your doctorate over there,
Yeah, right. You got an outstanding quarterback for Coach Hank Carter over there, Hudson Card. Then you've got a platoon quarterback system for Todd Dodge over at Westlake. They're actually rotating in 3 quarterbacks, Rob.
Wow.
And, you've already said if you have more than one quarterback, you don't have one. So, or if you're playing more than one quarterback, you don't have one. So, Georgetown has kind of struggled with it, but Westlake has been very successful with their platoon system. They all get about the same amount of playing time in each game, and you put their stats together, and they have a phenomenal offensive program.
Michael, there's 3 teams in that district currently on 5-game winning streaks, and that is simply amazing. Lake Travis leading that, Westlake followed by
Hayes.
And then Hayes, and then Bowie, and you go down and look, Del Valle on a 2-game streak. So, your top teams all on winning streaks right now, but not everybody can win and make it in, and we'll see what happens.
That's true.
That's arguably one of the toughest, if not, I'll just say it is the toughest district in 6A in the state of Texas, at least, of course, around here.
Right. Well, Hayes hasn't seen Westlake or Lake Travis yet. Westlake was on a bye last week, but Hayes is undefeated in district so far, district play, Westlake and Lake Travis as well. So, tomorrow night we've got Anderson and Aikens that will be on the SHN Sports Network. So that's part of that district right there. Aikens sitting at the bottom, and Anderson with Carson Groves, and you got to see him play in the Taco Shack Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's when the realignment happened, it moved all the Austin teams into a district, and in a way, and I just want to say this, and it's not downplaying any other Austin teams, but in a way, you have your Andersons, your Austins, your Laymans, your Aikens. Those teams have had their battles over the years, and if that alignment continues to stay where it's at, and again, I'm just saying this, I don't make predictions, I'm not putting down any kids. If that alignment stays where it's at, we are not going to see any Anderson, Austin, Layman, or Aikens in the playoffs anytime soon.
No, it's not.
And that's just an unfortunate break.
Four.
In my opinion, that is a skewed district, and that's just being honest. That's just me being objective and being honest. And it's a skewed district, not in a fact for like a Lake Travis and a Westlake. It's kind of an unfair skewed district because you're not going to see an Anderson, an Austin, a Layman, or an Aikens in there anytime soon. And I hope someone can prove me wrong.
There's a reason for that, and the reason is that a lot of these good quality athletes, they're moving out to the suburbs.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're leaving the inner city schools in the Austin ISD. They're looking for better opportunities out there, so there's more affluence in those areas. So you've got kids that have a higher socioeconomic level there, and so you see those teams actually have better success. I mean, you look out in Vandergrift, they're basically out of the Steiner Ranch area out there, and so they're having great success. Drew Sanders has a great program going over there at Vandergrift, and he's becoming a perennial powerhouse over there. And dominating in District 13-6A. They handily took care of Round Rock last week.
Yeah, and that's just kind of the way it goes. So I'm curious, coming up with the new year and the new realignment, I'm very curious to see what happens, if there's change and what change there's going to be and how it's going to work out. And because it was fun, if you've got teams at the bottom of that list, in this district, it's not competitive for them. But you match them up back in a district again where they were, and it makes it a little more competitive, makes it fun. But then again, those teams get into the first, second round of the playoffs, and that's it. But you have teams. I mean, we were calling a game our first year on SHN, and I think they had only won, 1 or 2 district games, and they were in the playoffs,
right?
And got destroyed in that first round.
Yeah, you get some of those smaller classifications, Rob, where there's only 4 or 5 teams that are in the district, and some of them have only 4 teams, so you can go winless through district and. And get into the playoffs. For the past several years, or past several realignments, I've always kind of tried to hold my own realignment and see where I think teams are going to fall out and stuff like that. So my head's already going when you were talking about Hutto moving up to the 6A classification.
Yeah, where are they going to go?
In my estimation, what probably will happen is that Leander will probably drop down in classification to 5A, D1, and Hutto would move into their spot in District 13-6A with the Round Rock schools. because they kind of keep those schools together. Lake Travis ended up moving off from the North Zone schools into 25-6A along with Westlake in a district setting. So the Leander schools seem to migrate into that as they move up in classification. Another one who you really got to consider who could possibly move up in classification too is Cedar Park. Cedar Park has big numbers over there too. I was reading in the paper the other day their enrollment numbers, and that could push up into 6A level.
Well, Georgetown's still quite a ways away from being 6A, and of course here by the end of 2030 is when the next high school is being predicted to be sometime before 2030. And so I think Georgetown going to sit around in a 5A status for quite some time. But when Hutto moves up to 6A and you see a Leander come back down to 5A, I would love to see that Georgetown-Leander rivalry renewed. That used to be a big rivalry, especially when I was in high school. In fact, it's my understanding that back in the day, the field at Georgetown, where it used to be next to the belovedly lost rodeo arena, which I won't get into that. You know how I feel about that. Hey, by the way, Huntsville still has a rodeo, and it's really good. By the way,
awesome.
So just a little FYI there for anyone listening.
Sheriff's Posse.
Yeah, it's a little county rodeo going on there that's still pretty amazing. So I just love that feel. We won't go into that, but here's the deal. Leander, back in the day, it was my understanding that the old Georgetown Stadium, that a lot of those stands came from Leander. They were gifted or donated or something. So, Georgetown always had a little heart, a little piece of Lion Nation in a way.
Right.
Now, we're back in the district. Of course, there ain't going to be much love.
Right. Well, that was back when Bible actually took over, I believe it was Odessa Permian's old stadium. And so their stands came to Leander, and I believe those stands came over to Georgetown.
Everybody just passed it. It's just like a big brother wearing his polos, and you pass it down.
Right.
Back in the day, they used to pass the stands down. That was before anybody in the state of Texas had these ideas to have these big blowout, outrageous stadiums. And that's a whole other discussion. But
of course, none of our stadiums down here rank to those stadiums that are up there in the Ponder and Allen and McKinney school districts.
They're pondering why they spent that much money on the stadium.
It's like $60 million high school football stadiums, and then you got some D3 and D2s that are playing their national championships at those high school stadiums.
Well, Michael, let's move on and look at 6A. You're talking about 13-6A. They're Vandergrift leading that pack, of course, 4-0. They're on a 6-game winning streak. They have been phenomenal this season. Entering the season undefeated. Stony Point, right? I think Stony Point, that is one school that has just been under the radar. I don't know where they were ranked coming into a publication like Dave Texas Campbell Football, but Stony Point, to me, was kind of an under-the-radar team, and this year they are looking really good there.
They really are. When Cedar Ridge opened up and a lot of the kids split from Stony Point, and Stony Point started falling off in their athletic programs, as kids ended up going over to Cedar Ridge. And so now that they're kind of building their program back and they got things going in a positive direction over there. So that's a great thing to see in that program over there. Stony Point Tigers really stepping up and having some success in that gauntlet of a district.
You got other teams finishing out the top four. Of course, Vandergrift, Stony Point 1-2, Vista Ridge and Round Rock finishing up the 3-4, and then a little bit of a surprise: Round Rock Westwood at 2-2. Cedar Ridge, really, that's the biggest surprise for me at 1-2, and then Hendrickson 1-3. McNeil having their struggles 0-3, and Leander 0-4. Of course, Leander with a new head coach as well. You really have to have a heart for the Lions because last year they've had their struggles over the years, and I really felt like this year was a year that Leander may have been able to find a little bit of rhythm, but they are still winless. They're the only team in that district that's winless, not just district play, but overall at 0-6. Of course, those Leander games on the SHN network. It's a rebuilding year over there with a new head coach and trying to find the pieces. But you mentioned earlier, so many of these communities growing and expanding and schools opening. I don't want to be the person over at the UIL that's in charge of doing all these alignments. It just wreak havoc in my head, man.
Well, the high school number 7 in Leander Independent School District,
that's unbelievable.
I believe is set to open in 2022. I believe is correct.
That's unbelievable. Can you believe that kind of growth?
Right. I mean, Leander has a larger population than Georgetown. Leander's got over 60,000 people. I believe 64,000 people right now.
It's just that whole conglomerate of
Leander Cedar Park.
Cedar Park,
It's just huge. And so when that school opens up, they're going to pull some more students from Rouse. And that school is, if I remember correctly, Rob, it is going to be built over off of Ronald Reagan and just south of Highway 29. It's going to be real close to Highway 29. So it's going to pick some kids up from Georgetown, and I believe it'll also pick up kids from Liberty Hill.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable, man, to see kind of, where that's heading and what that's doing. As we look ahead, we talked about some games. We don't want to leave out Jarrell. Of course, they're on our network as well. Jarrell had a nice little streak going there for a whole minute, and then Troy took care of them handily, 49-13. Very proud of the Cougars, though. This week, facing a very tough – I can't think off the top of my head.
Cameron
Yeo, the Yeoman. I was trying to think the Yeoman of Cameron Yeo. Unfortunately, that game will not be covered on SHN this week, but we'll have coverage again starting next week. So just a little bit of logistics there. And so they will be at home, though. We didn't want to miss an away game for sure, but this was the one game this season that we knew we wouldn't be able to cover that one. And so, again, they will be at home. If you're a Jarrell Cougar fan, get out there, support the Cougars. Nice facility. And then we'll be right back on track next week. Wally Harmon taking care of business there for the Cougars.
Well, such an outstanding community. Both of us, you and I, have had the opportunity to broadcast Jarrell Cougar football.
Man, we have. I didn't mean to cut you off. Rockdale 80 over Manor New Tech 6.
Yes. Manor New Tech, they're in their second year of a football program, and they're struggling to find their feet. And they're in a tough district with Rockdale, Cameron, Troy, Lago Vista. I mean, you got some strong teams in that district over there, Rob, and Manor New Tech they're struggling.
Well, that score to just better visualize it. Nothing on Manor New Tech, by the way. Grandpa to kindergartner, 80-6.
Right.
Grandpa to kindergartner.
Well,
games happening this week. We got some good ones coming up, Michael.
Yeah, I got some real good ones tomorrow night. You've got, of course, as we mentioned earlier, Aikens at Anderson. That will be downtown Austin at House Park. And then you've got Cedar Ridge at Hendrickson. This is a must-game win for Cedar Ridge.
I believe it's good. Yeah, absolutely.
That's really a shocker. They were projected to be at the top of that district, and they're just kind of flailing right now and really struggling to get their feet underneath them. Manor will be at Rouse tomorrow night, and of course Manor's on a big roll, and Rouse is winless on the season so far, winless in district. Seguin at Travis will be played at Burger Stadium, and then Wimberley at Eastside will be at Nelson Field tomorrow night. So that rounds out your Thursday night games. And some Friday night games. Of course, we mentioned earlier the Battle of the Lakes. The eyes of the state of Texas are in on that game, and we'll be paying attention to that game. Just kind of curiosity, though, Rob, is that it also falls the same week of Texas OU weekend. So, that's have two great back-to-back games happen right there. And as you mentioned, Leander will be playing at Round Rock, so they will be over at Dragon Stadium on Friday night. Vandergrift will take on Carl Schoning's alma mater, the McNeil Mavericks.
There you go.
That will happen Friday night. And then Stony Point and Vista Ridge, two quality programs that really come as a big surprise this season so far. That's going to be a great matchup, and that will be at Gupton Stadium Friday night in Cedar Park. Cedar Creek will be at Glen. Glen was dominated by Weiss last week, 42-0. Cedar Creek takes care of business versus Bastrop, 17-7. So Cedar Creek looking to continue to roll in District 13-5A D2. Bernie Champion will be at Lockhart. Eastview will be at Bastrop, and Eastview definitely looking to get back on that winning way. I think Coach Feacock has got the right idea of how to get his guys prepared and ready for Friday night at Bastrop.
No, I believe so. Well, hey, just for a brief moment, we're about to sign off here in just a minute. Michael, as always, appreciate everything that you do here for us at SHN. Wanted to join in just for a second, and I'm not sure where this is actually going to be, but this is from the Eagle Nation Coaches Show earlier tonight, as you can hear a few words here from Georgetown head football coach Chuck Griffin. Let's listen in, and if it's not about the Cedar Park, I'll skip around, so it may be a little bit awkward here. We produce the show ourselves. You know, normally you got a guy standing back there, and he's running, and he's getting everything ready. Man, we do it all.
Right.
So Michael and I are just up here clicking. That's why you see me look down. Stay with us. We'll hear a little bit from head coach Chuck Griffin. We'll come back on as we'll wrap up here in just a few moments, but stay with us.
Standpoint of making them get out to practice, do things, they do that on their own, and that's been really good. We're just working at getting better, you know, and that's what we've been working on this whole stretch of the season between the off week and then Stephenville, Hutto, and Cedar Park. Our main goal is to learn how to focus so that we can practice better. But we practice hard, but sometimes we got to make sure that energy is all directed the same place and the same time and working to get better every rep. We talked about that, and we talked about just coming together, team, figuring out who we are, and let's go make a great run here at the end of the season and make a great run in the playoffs.
Coach, you talked about a lot of positive things to take away from this, some things that Georgetown's going to have to work on. We'll talk about more of that here in the second segment.
So you can kind of hear Coach there was talking a little bit more about, talking a little bit more there about what was going on versus Hutto last week. So going to be a good one at Birkelbach. You know, if the 5A, I think you can call that one a game of the week.
Yeah.
In a way, I do because I'm a Georgetown native. But I think it's a game of the week. I think over at the Battle of the Lakes, that's certainly the game of the week. Here, I'll tell you this. I'll throw this out there. Whatever your team is, that's the game of the week.
There you go. Wherever you go to watch your football, that's the team of the week.
Well, friends out there, join us. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We'll sign off here in just a few moments. Michael, final thoughts. I know we didn't have a chance to be here the last couple of weeks, so we'll be back on. Of course, we're here tonight. Next week, we'll work on getting some guests. You know, the thing that's going on right now, and just to kind of, give folks behind the lens a little bit of kind of insight what's going on in my world. I've been tremendously blessed down in Huntsville with Sam Houston State University and looking forward to some more opportunities down there. And really, I just feel like that's where God's leading me to be in Huntsville. And so, we'll keep SHN flowing and rocking and rolling. But I really think here within the next month, I'm going to be down in that community permanently. Of course, it's only a 2.5-hour drive. I'm going to bleed Eagle Blue till the day I die, man. But and that's
only a 2.5 hour.
Only 2.5 hours. And I say only a 2.5 hour because with broadcasting, we travel so much. And with SHN, we drive a lot, honestly, not in high school. But when we're out covering alumni teams, as you know,
right,
we're driving it. So to me, the 2.5-hour drive, that's really nothing, man.
Yeah, it's really nothing.
I put on some podcast, I jam, I hang out, and I'll tell you what, man, I really do love that drive from Georgetown to Huntsville. So I'll still be active in the area, just not as much. SHN will keep going, but I'm excited about that opportunity, Michael, and very blessed for the opportunity to get more involved down there in that area. Who knows, man? I'm always going to be an Eagle, but, maybe a Huntsville Hornet here and there. So we'll see what happens,
well,
man.
You dig in and get some high school action going over there.
Yeah.
Depending on what your Bearcat schedule is.
That's right. Well, the house here going up for sale. Studio will be fine. What I love about the studio is we can quite literally, get this bad boy on a forklift on one side. Of course, a big forklift. That's how it came over here originally. But a forklift on one side, you pop wheels on the other side, and this bad boy is rolling to South Georgetown when the house here sells.
Right.
So it's a lot of fun, man, and we're definitely going to continue to grow. And I know I said final thought, but that's kind of my final thought. Just excited about high school football. Very much looking forward to the games this weekend. And what we're going to do at SHN, like we said earlier, we're just going to continue to focus on promoting these kids. For us, it's not about numbers. It's not about boasting about how many teams we broadcast for. It's about boasting about what these kids are doing. And,
right.
we don't want to spread ourselves so thin that we can't really focus. Because you start spreading yourself thin, what happens? You start having to generate revenue to take care of everything, and then it becomes about money, and that's not what we do.
Well, then quality starts getting thin, and because you're spreading things out and you focus on the small things. and keep them within your wheelhouse, and then you're going to be successful.
And what I'm saying, and don't mislead, if you're out there watching, if you're a school, you're like, oh, man, I really wanted SHN to broadcast for. Don't mislead what we're saying. We have products and services that is how our platform here and how the network is going to expand as we go forward. In my opinion, and many of those that are with us and many that are joining our network now, we provide the tools and teach you how to do the broadcast, because then it limits us and our management where you have your own style. We provide the tools and the resources, and then you keep 100% of the revenue.
Right, absolutely.
Why should you go out and pay an outside company to cover your events if you don't have to? And some schools, they say, hey, we want you to do it. We want a turnkey solution. But if you want to broadcast your own events for your school or your booster club, if you're watching tonight, I'll tell you this. We've got products and services that we can put in your hands relatively quickly, get you started on a professional broadcast on the SHN platform, and you go from there. You want to go out and sell your own advertising? We can support that. You want to go out and generate your own revenue? Guess what? We're not going to tell you owe us a percentage of that. That's for you and your booster club and your school. You can do whatever you want with it. Right. That's how we envision growing, and that's really how it's worked, where we've brought on all these network partners from North Texas, with North Forney, with Mejia, I got to tell you this real quick. I like to yak, and we can do it because we're not on a schedule, except you got to get up early. I love all of our family, our SHN family. I especially love Joey Snowden, those guys up in Malakoff. If you get a chance, go listen to those broadcasts.
Right.
You can get your popcorn out, listen to that broadcast, turn down the lights, eat some popcorn. It's a lot of fun. Joey and those guys, you guys do a great job, and it's entertaining.
Right.
Very entertaining. All of our crews do a good job. But those guys, it's amazing, man. I love what they do. So
right.
Michael, final thoughts finally after I asked you 10 minutes ago.
Well, Rob, it's going with the back half of the season, and the district races are going to tighten up, and it's just going to make football a whole lot more interesting going forward. So, we wish Eastview the best of luck on the rest of the season. Georgetown, of course, our SHN family schools, we definitely want to see them be successful and make it to the playoffs and postseason. So we're looking forward to that, Rob.
You bet. Well, as always, friends, we appreciate each and every one of you as we reiterate over and over. For us, it's about promoting these kids. It's about bringing professional coverage to these young student athletes that deserve the very best. That's what we want to do here at SHN. Thank you for your continued support over 5 years as we continue our journey. We will expand, we will grow, but we'll do it in the right ways, and we will always do it focused on these kids first. We'll be back next week with more. We will work hard to have guests on the show next week. Just a little bit of a transitional phase here, especially once everything here moves and we move the studio. There'll be a little bit of construction work that'll be involved to get that set and get that studio set on that property in South Georgetown. But it will be done, and we will always be here. Again, if you're interested in broadcast for your organization, feel free to email info@shnsports.com. Once again, that's info@shnsports.com. We drop names here at SHN. It's the kids, and we love it. And
That's
love
right.
you, Mike. I'll drop your name. Michael Francis in the house, Mike.
The man, the Rob
No,
Hipp,
come on, man.
the one and the only.
Well, I got to tell you one last thing, too. Carl Schoening, been a tremendous blessing. Of course, business partner, my best friend, one of my best friends here. Couldn't do it without him. What you and Travis do, and our crews over at Leander. Appreciate Chuck and everybody. Wally with Gerald. So many wonderful folks that really come together to make all of these broadcasts possible. We appreciate you. We love each and every one of you. And as always, reminding you tonight, we're not strong enough alone to make it on our own. We need each other. Provide a word of encouragement. Lend a hand of support. Somebody out there needs you. Good night. God bless from Georgetown, Texas. We'll
Good
see
night,
you, friends.
everyone.
2019 high school football on SHN Sports is proudly presented by Georgetown Jewelry. Georgetown Jewelry is your trusted local jewelry store, family owned and operated since 2013. Whether you desire a one-of-a-kind custom piece or want to enjoy browsing our inventory of both unique and traditional jewelry and watches, stop by and see us at Georgetown Jewelry. We also specialize in jewelry repair and appraisals. For more information, please visit Georgetown Jewelry, located in the Williamsburg Village Shopping Center in Georgetown, or online at georgetownjewelry.com. Central Texas High School football on SHN Sports is made possible by Georgetown and Austin Shirt Company. 3 words describe Georgetown and Austin Shirt Company: simple, reliable, and awesome. We support our community. From screen printing and embroidery to promotional products, Georgetown and Austin Shirt Company helps put your brand on your business. Get started on your project today by getting a quick and easy quote online at GeorgetownShirtCompany.com. Jimmy Jacobs' reputation for building beautiful custom homes in Central Texas speaks for itself. For over 30 years, he has been behind some of the most successful and sought-after new home developments in Georgetown. Grand Endeavor Homes represents a new era of elegant custom home building. Now joined by his son, Justin Jacobs, Jimmy has launched Grand Endeavor Homes to continue his legacy and reputation for custom homes in Georgetown and the surrounding areas. Visit GrandEndeavorHomes.com for details and directions to the model home.